My parents kicked me out of the house when they found out that I was secretly dating my girlfriend. They said that until I buy them a house, they won't take me back. I still remember the day my parents found out about my girlfriend. It felt like a scene from a movie, one where the protagonist's world collapses in slow motion. Except this time it was my life that was falling apart. My parents had always been strict. They had rules for everything: curfews, study hours, friends. When it came to dating, their stance was clear. I was to focus on my studies and career, nothing else. Any mention of a girlfriend was met with disdain and a lecture on priorities. So, when I met Emily, I knew I had to keep our relationship a secret. Emily was everything I wasn't allowed to have. She was spontaneous, adventurous, and loved pushing boundaries. We met at a friend's party, one I had to lie to attend. From the moment we talked, there was an undeniable connection. We started seeing each other secretly, sneaking out late at night and meeting up at places my parents would never think to look. For months, we managed to keep our relationship hidden. We communicated through secret phone calls, messages, and covert meetups. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Every moment with Emily was a breath of fresh air, a break from the suffocating rules at home. But secrets have a way of coming to light, and ours was no exception. It was a Saturday afternoon when everything fell apart. I had told my parents I was going to the library to study for an upcoming exam. In reality, I was meeting Emily at a quaint cafe downtown. We spent hours there, talking, laughing, and forgetting the world outside. In my bliss, I failed to notice the time. By the time I checked my phone, I had several missed calls and messages from my mom. Panic set in as I realized I was supposed to be home 2 hours ago. I rushed back, my mind racing with excuses. When I arrived, my parents were waiting for me in the living room. Their faces were a mix of anger and disappointment. "Where have you been?" my mom demanded. Her voice was sharp, a tone I knew all too well. "At the library," I stammered, trying to maintain my composure. "Don't lie to us," my dad cut in. "We know you weren't at the library." My heart sank. They knew. But how? My mom held up my phone, and it all made sense. I had forgotten it at home. They must have gone through my messages, seen the photos, the calls. Everything was out in the open. "Who is Emily?" my mom asked, her voice now trembling with controlled rage. "She's my girlfriend," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. There was a moment of silence, the calm before the storm. Then my dad erupted. "A girlfriend? We have told you countless times that you are not to date anyone until you have finished your studies and established your career." I tried to explain, to make them understand how much Emily meant to me, but they wouldn't listen. They saw her as a distraction, a threat to their meticulously planned future for me. "You will break up with her," my dad commanded, "or you will leave this house." His words hit me like a ton of bricks. Leave? My mind was reeling. Where would I go? What would I do? Emily's face flashed before my eyes. I couldn't give her up. Not like this. "I'm not breaking up with her," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "I love her." My mom's eyes filled with tears, but there was no softness in them. "Then you have made your choice," she said coldly. "Pack your things and leave. Until you buy us a house, don't even think about coming back." I stood there stunned. They couldn't be serious. But their expressions told me otherwise. They were dead serious. In a daze, I went to my room and started packing. As I shoved clothes into a bag, the reality of the situation hit me. I was being kicked out of my home because I loved someone. My parents, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, were throwing me out. I grabbed my phone and called Emily. She answered on the first ring, her voice filled with concern when she heard the tremor in mine. "They found out," I said, my voice breaking. "They're kicking me out." "I'll come get you," she replied without hesitation. "We'll figure this out together." As I waited for her, I took one last look around my room. The place I had grown up in, filled with memories both good and bad. I never thought I'd be leaving it like this. But as painful as it was, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to give up on Emily, no matter what it took. When Emily arrived, I walked out of the house without looking back. I didn't want to see the disappointment on my parents' faces again. As we drove away, Emily held my hand, giving me the strength I needed. We didn't know what the future held, but we were ready to face it together. That night, as I lay in Emily's small apartment, the weight of the day's events pressed down on me. I was scared, uncertain, but I was also determined. I had chosen love over fear, and I would do whatever it took to make it work. Little did I know this was just the beginning of a long, challenging journey, one that would test my limits, push me to the edge, and ultimately change me in ways I could never have imagined. Living with Emily was both a comfort and a challenge. Her apartment was tiny, a single room with a kitchenette and a bathroom, but it was filled with warmth, love, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee. We quickly fell into a routine, trying to make the best of our new reality. My parents' ultimatum loomed over us like a dark cloud. The idea of buying them a house seemed impossible. I barely had enough savings to cover a few months of rent, let alone purchase a house. Emily tried to keep my spirits up, constantly reminding me that we would get through this together. Still, the pressure was immense. We spent our days working odd jobs, taking on anything we could find to make ends meet. Emily worked as a barista during the day and took on freelance graphic design projects at night. I juggled shifts at a local grocery store and tutored high school students in math and science. It was exhausting, but we managed to scrape by. One evening, after a particularly long day, Emily and I sat on the small couch in her apartment, eating instant noodles and talking about our dreams. "I know it's tough now," Emily said, resting her head on my shoulder. "But one day we'll look back at this and see how strong we were." I smiled at her optimism, but inside I was struggling to hold on. The thought of my parents' faces, the disappointment, the anger haunted me. I wanted to prove them wrong, to show them that I could make something of myself without giving up the person I loved. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Our relationship was tested in ways I hadn't anticipated. The stress of our situation led to arguments, moments where we both felt overwhelmed and defeated. But each time we found our way back to each other, stronger than before. One night, as we lay in bed, Emily turned to me with a determined look in her eyes. "We need a plan," she said. "Something more than just surviving day to day." She was right. We needed a way to move forward, to build a future that wasn't just about proving my parents wrong, but about creating a life we both wanted. We spent hours brainstorming, scribbling ideas on pieces of paper, and researching online. Finally, we came up with a plan. I decided to go back to school and pursue a degree in engineering. It was a field with good job prospects and the potential for a stable, well-paying career. Emily, ever supportive, agreed to take on more freelance work to support us while I studied. It wasn't going to be easy, but it was a step towards a better future. As the weeks passed, I enrolled in classes at a local community college, balancing my studies with part-time work. Emily worked tirelessly, her creativity and talent bringing in more freelance projects. Slowly but surely, we started to see progress. Despite the exhaustion, there were moments of joy and triumph. The first time I aced a difficult exam, Emily surprised me with a homemade dinner and a small celebration. When she landed a major design project, we stayed up all night working on it together, laughing and dreaming about our future. But the shadow of my parents' ultimatum never fully disappeared. It was always there, a reminder of the mountain we still had to climb. I knew it would take years to save enough to buy them a house, but I was determined. I had chosen my path, and there was no turning back. As I drifted off to sleep each night, I clung to the hope that one day we would prove them wrong. That one day I would walk up to my parents' door, hand them the keys to a house, and show them that love and determination could overcome any obstacle. Until then, I held on to Emily, knowing that together we could face anything. Emily and I had a plan, but executing it was a whole different story. Life didn't magically become easier just because we had a goal. In fact, it seemed to throw more challenges our way, as if testing our resolve. The community college was a 40-minute bus ride from Emily's apartment. Every morning I woke up at the crack of dawn, cramming in some study time before heading to work. I clocked in hours at the grocery store, my mind often drifting to the engineering problems I still needed to solve. After my shift, I hopped on the bus to campus, spending my evenings in classes and the library before heading back home to Emily. Emily worked tirelessly too. Her days were spent crafting stunning designs and managing clients, her nights filled with freelance gigs. We barely saw each other during the week, our interactions limited to brief moments of shared exhaustion and whispered goodnights. It was tough, but we both knew it was temporary, a necessary sacrifice for the future we wanted. One evening, as we were both working side by side in the apartment, me poring over textbooks and Emily sketching on her tablet, she looked up and smiled. "Remember why we're doing this," she said, her voice filled with determination. "We're building something better." Her words stuck with me, a reminder of the bigger picture whenever I felt overwhelmed. Financially, things were tight. We budgeted every penny, cutting out luxuries and living as frugally as possible. Instant noodles became a staple in our diet, and we found creative ways to make the most of our limited resources. Despite the struggles, there were moments of light, like the time we managed to save enough for a cheap second-hand couch, celebrating its arrival with an impromptu pizza party on our living room floor. Our relationship was our anchor. Even in the toughest moments, we found solace in each other. On weekends, we made time for small adventures, picnics in the park, late-night movie marathons, and quiet walks through the city. These moments were a respite from the grind, a reminder of why we were fighting so hard. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were times when the stress got the better of us. One night, after a particularly grueling week, Emily and I had a heated argument. It started over something trivial, whose turn it was to do the dishes, but quickly escalated, fueled by exhaustion and frustration. "I can't keep doing this," Emily said, tears streaming down her face. "We're barely holding on." I felt a pang of guilt, knowing that my decision to pursue my studies had placed a heavy burden on her. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice cracking. "I know it's hard, but we're in this together, right?" She took a deep breath, wiping her tears. "Yes, together, but we need to remember to take care of ourselves, too." Her words hit home. We needed to find a balance, to support each other not just in the grand scheme of things, but in the everyday moments as well. We made a pact that night to communicate better, to share our struggles and celebrate our victories, no matter how small. As the months passed, we started to find our rhythm. I excelled in my classes, driven by the thought of creating a better future for us. Emily's freelance career flourished, her talent recognized by more clients. We even managed to save a bit of money, a small cushion that gave us a sense of security. One day, as I was leaving the grocery store after my shift, I received a call from an old friend, Mark. He had heard about my situation and offered me a part-time job at his tech startup. The pay was better, and the hours more flexible, allowing me to focus more on my studies. It felt like a lifeline. When I told Emily the news, she hugged me tightly, her eyes shining with pride. "This is it," she said. "We're getting there." It was a small step, but it felt like a giant leap. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. We were moving forward, slowly but surely, and as long as we had each other, I knew we could overcome any obstacle. The journey was far from over, but with Emily by my side, I was ready to face whatever came next. Just when things started to look up for us, family drama came crashing into our lives like a tidal wave. It began with a phone call from my aunt, someone who had always been more open-minded and supportive than my parents. "I heard about what happened," Aunt Karen said, her voice filled with concern. "Are you okay?" I hesitated, not wanting to burden her with my troubles, but the floodgates opened. I told her everything: the fight with my parents, the ultimatum, and the struggles Emily and I were facing. Aunt Karen listened patiently, offering words of comfort and encouragement. "Your parents are being unreasonable. she said firmly. "But you have to stay strong. They'll come around eventually." Her support meant the world to me. It felt good to know that someone in my family was on my side. However, not everyone shared Aunt Karen's sentiments. Word of my situation spread quickly through the family grapevine, and soon enough the drama began. The first sign of trouble came at a family gathering I reluctantly attended. It was a cousin's birthday, and despite my reservations, Aunt Karen convinced me to go, assuring me that not everyone was against me. Emily, always my rock, encouraged me to face my family and show them that I wasn't ashamed of my choices. As soon as I walked through the door, I felt the tension. Conversations hushed, and judgmental glances were cast my way. My parents were there, standing apart from the crowd, their expressions a mix of anger and sadness. I avoided their gaze, focusing instead on Aunt Karen, who greeted me warmly. "Just ignore them," she whispered, guiding me towards the kitchen. "You're here to enjoy yourself." Easier said than done. Throughout the evening I could feel the weight of my family's disapproval. Whispers followed me, snippets of conversations about my rebellion and disrespect for my parents. It was exhausting, and I felt like I was on trial, every move scrutinized. At one point my cousin Jenny cornered me in the hallway. She was always the one to stir the pot, and today was no different. "I heard you're living with your girlfriend now," she said, her tone dripping with judgment. "How's that working out for you?" I forced a smile, refusing to let her get under my skin. "It's working out just fine. Thanks." Jenny scoffed, crossing her arms. "You know, everyone thinks you're making a huge mistake. Your parents are devastated." Her words stung, but I kept my composure. "I'm doing what I think is right," I said calmly. "They'll just have to accept that." The conversation left me feeling drained, and I spent the rest of the evening avoiding confrontation. Emily texted me throughout, sending words of encouragement that kept me going. When it was finally time to leave, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. I missed my family, but I couldn't keep subjecting myself to their judgment. Back at Emily's apartment, I shared the details of the evening with her. She listened intently, her hand squeezing mine in solidarity. "I'm proud of you," she said softly. "Facing them took a lot of courage." Her words were a balm to my wounded spirit. We spent the rest of the night talking about our future, reaffirming our commitment to each other and our dreams. Emily's unwavering support gave me the strength to keep pushing forward. But the family drama was far from over. Over the next few weeks I received more calls and messages from relatives, each with their own opinion on my situation. Some, like Aunt Karen, were supportive, offering help and encouragement. Others were more critical, echoing my parents' sentiments and urging me to come to my senses. It was a difficult time navigating the complicated web of family expectations and my own desires. Each interaction left me feeling torn, but I knew that I had to stay true to myself and my love for Emily. One particularly difficult conversation was with my younger brother, Alex. He had always looked up to me, and I feared I had let him down. "Why are you doing this?" he asked during a tense phone call. "Mom and Dad are really hurt." I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I know it's hard to understand, Alex, but I love Emily, and I can't give her up. This is my life, and I have to make my own choices." He was silent for a moment, and I could hear the conflict in his voice. "I just want things to go back to the way they were," he said quietly. "So do I admitted. "But we can't change the past. We can only move forward." The call ended with a sense of unresolved tension, but it was a start. I knew it would take time for my family to fully understand and accept my choices. Until then, I had to focus on building the life Emily and I dreamed of, one step at a time. Through it all, Emily remained my constant source of strength. Her unwavering belief in us kept me grounded, even when the family drama threatened to overwhelm me. Together we faced each challenge head-on, determined to create a future filled with love, respect, and the promise of better days ahead. Determined to make our plan a reality, Emily and I threw ourselves into our work and studies. The new part-time job at Mark's tech startup was a game-changer. It wasn't just a financial boost. It was an opportunity to gain valuable experience in my chosen field of engineering. The startup environment was intense, but exhilarating. The office buzzed with energy, everyone driven by the same passion to innovate and succeed. I quickly learned to balance my responsibilities at the startup with my college coursework. The work was challenging, but I thrived on the adrenaline and the sense of purpose it brought. Mark became a mentor to me, guiding me through the complexities of the tech world. He believed in my potential, and his support was invaluable. Late nights at the office became a norm, but I didn't mind. Each hour spent there felt like an investment in our future. Emily's freelance career also took off. She was landing bigger and more prestigious projects, her talent finally getting the recognition it deserved. Watching her work was inspiring. She poured her heart into every design, and her dedication paid off. The extra income allowed us to start saving more seriously, inching us closer to our goal of buying a house for my parents. One evening after a particularly productive day, Emily and I sat down to review our finances. It was a routine we had developed, a way to keep track of our progress and stay motivated. "Look at this," Emily said, pointing to the spreadsheet on her laptop. "We're actually making headway. If we keep this up, we might be able to put a down payment on a house sooner than we thought." I stared at the numbers, a mix of disbelief and excitement washing over me. It wasn't going to be easy, but for the first time, our dream felt tangible. We were turning our struggles into stepping stones, climbing the ladder one rung at a time. Despite the progress, life continued to throw challenges our way. The stress of juggling work, school, and financial pressures sometimes led to tension between us. There were nights when we both felt overwhelmed, wondering if we were on the right path. One such night I came home exhausted from a particularly grueling day at the startup. Emily was at her desk, her face illuminated by the glow of her laptop. She looked just as worn out as I felt. "Long day?" I asked, sitting down beside her. She nodded, her eyes weary. "Yeah, sometimes it feels like we're running on fumes." I reached out, taking her hand in mine. "We're doing this for a reason, remember? We're building something better." Emily sighed, leaning her head on my shoulder. "I know, it's just hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel sometimes." I kissed the top of her head, a gesture of comfort and solidarity. "We'll get there, one step at a time." Our conversations often ended on this note, a mutual reassurance that kept us going. And slowly we began to see the fruits of our labor. I received a promotion at the startup, my hard work and dedication recognized by the higher-ups. With the promotion came a significant pay raise, bringing us closer to our financial goal. Emily, too, hit a major milestone. She was approached by a prominent design firm that offered her a lucrative contract. It was a testament to her talent and perseverance, and I couldn't have been prouder. "Can you believe it?" she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "This could change everything for us." I hugged her tightly, feeling a sense of triumph. "You deserve this, Emily. We both do." The successes we achieved were hard-earned, the result of countless hours of work and sacrifice. Each victory brought us closer, not just to our goal of buying a house for my parents, but to the life we envisioned for ourselves. As we moved forward, we made a point to celebrate our milestones, no matter how small. Whether it was a simple dinner out or a night off to watch our favorite movies, these moments of joy kept us grounded and reminded us of why we were working so hard. But amidst the progress and the celebrations, the pressure from my parents never entirely disappeared. They remained a looming presence in my life, their ultimatum a constant reminder of the expectations I was striving to meet. One day, I received a call from my mom. Her voice was softer than usual, tinged with an emotion I couldn't quite place. "Hi, Mom," I greeted her cautiously. "Hello," she replied. There was a pause before she continued. "Your father and I have been talking. We've heard about your new job and Emily's success. We're proud of you." The words caught me off guard. For so long, all I had heard from them was disappointment and anger. This unexpected acknowledgement left me momentarily speechless. "Thank you," I finally said. "That means a lot." "We still expect you to fulfill your promise," she added, her tone firm but not unkind. "But we can see you're working hard." It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was a step in the right direction. After the call, I felt a mix of relief and renewed determination. I shared the conversation with Emily, who hugged me tightly. "This is progress," she said. "They're starting to see how hard we're working." Encouraged by the call, we redoubled our efforts. Our journey was far from over, but with each passing day we grew more confident in our ability to achieve our dreams. The ladder we were climbing was steep and fraught with obstacles, but together we knew we could reach the top. As our professional lives began to stabilize, Emily and I found ourselves navigating the complexities of our relationship in new ways. The demands of work and school were relentless, but we were determined to carve out time for each other. Our love was the foundation upon which everything else was built, and we couldn't afford to neglect it. Our weekends became sacred. Saturdays were our days to reconnect, free from the pressures of work and studies. We started a tradition of exploring the city, discovering hidden gems in the form of quaint cafes, art galleries, and parks. These moments were our refuge, a reminder of the joy and spontaneity that had brought us together in the first place. One sunny Saturday, we found ourselves at a farmer's market. The air was filled with the scent of fresh produce and flowers, and the sound of cheerful chatter surrounded us. As we wandered from stall to stall, Emily's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Look at these strawberries!" she exclaimed, holding up a basket. "We should get some and make strawberry shortcake tonight." I smiled, loving how the simplest things brought her so much joy. "Sounds perfect," I agreed, reaching for my wallet. As we continued to explore, we came across a booth selling handmade jewelry. Emily's attention was immediately drawn to a delicate silver necklace with a small pendant in the shape of a heart. "It's beautiful," she said softly, running her fingers over the intricate design. "Do you want it?" I asked, already knowing the answer. She shook her head, smiling. "No, it's too much. We need to save." I could see the longing in her eyes, and it broke my heart. She was always so selfless, constantly putting our needs above her own desires. Without another word, I bought the necklace and fastened it around her neck. "It's a reminder," I said, kissing her forehead, "of how much I love you." Tears welled up in her eyes as she hugged me tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "I love you too." Our love was strong, but it was not immune to the pressures and sacrifices we faced. There were moments of doubt and frustration, times when the weight of our responsibilities felt overwhelming. We had our share of arguments, usually about mundane things that masked deeper anxieties. One night, after a particularly heated disagreement about our finances, Emily broke down in tears. "I just feel like we're constantly struggling," she said, her voice trembling. "I worry that we're losing ourselves in all this." I held her, feeling the sting of her words. "I know it's hard," I said softly, "but we're in this together. We just need to remember why we're doing it." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "You're right, it's just... sometimes it feels like we're fighting a losing battle." I understood her fears. There were times when I felt the same way. But every time we hit a low point, we found our way back to each other, stronger and more committed than before. One evening, as we were sitting on the couch, Emily turned to me with a serious expression. "I've been thinking," she said, "about your parents' ultimatum. Maybe we should reconsider our approach." I frowned, not sure where she was going with this. "What do you mean?" "Maybe we shouldn't focus solely on buying them a house," she explained. "What if we also worked on improving our relationship with them? Show them that we're serious about our future and that we're willing to meet them halfway." Her suggestion made sense. My parents' demands had always felt like an insurmountable obstacle, but perhaps it was time to address the emotional rift that had formed between us. Over the next few weeks, Emily and I made a concerted effort to reach out to my parents. We invited them to dinner, hoping to bridge the gap and start rebuilding our relationship. To my surprise, they accepted. The dinner was tense at first, the atmosphere thick with unspoken words and unresolved issues. But as the evening progressed, we started to find common ground. My parents saw how hard we were working, and slowly their rigid stance began to soften. "I can see that you two are serious about your future," my mom said, her voice tinged with emotion. "We just want what's best for you." "We're trying our best," I replied. "We love each other, and we're committed to making this work. We just need your support." My dad nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It's not easy for us to let go of our expectations, but we can see how much you love each other. We'll try to be more understanding." It wasn't a complete resolution, but it was a start. The dinner ended on a hopeful note, with a tentative promise of more open communication and support. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. As we left my parents' house that night, Emily squeezed my hand. "See, we're making progress." I smiled, feeling a sense of relief and gratitude. "We are. Thank you for always believing in us." Our relationship continued to evolve, shaped by the challenges and triumphs we faced. We learned to lean on each other, to communicate openly and honestly, and to never lose sight of the love that had brought us together. Through the ups and downs, we discovered that our greatest strength lay in our ability to adapt and grow. Love was not just a feeling. It was a choice we made every day, a commitment to support and uplift each other no matter what. The journey was far from over, but with Emily by my side, I felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. Together, we would continue to climb the ladder, one step at a time, fueled by our love and the unwavering belief in a brighter future. The hard work and sacrifices we made were beginning to pay off in unexpected ways. Just when it seemed like the weight of our challenges might overwhelm us, a series of fortunate events changed our trajectory. It started with a phone call from Mark. His voice buzzed with excitement, and I could hardly believe what he was telling me. "We've secured a major investor for the startup," he said. "This is huge for us, and I wanted to let you know that I'm promoting you to a full-time position with a significant raise. You've earned it." I was stunned. The promotion meant more than just a higher salary. It was a validation of my hard work and dedication. It was a turning point in my career, and it felt like a door opening to new opportunities. When I told Emily the news, she leaped into my arms, her eyes shining with pride. "This is amazing!" she exclaimed. "I'm so proud of you." The promotion brought a welcome financial boost, and for the first time, we could breathe a little easier. We celebrated with a modest dinner at our favorite restaurant, a rare treat that felt like a luxury. As we sat across from each other, savoring the moment, Emily reached across the table and took my hand. "This is just the beginning," she said with a smile. "We're going to achieve everything we've dreamed of." Her confidence was infectious. With the promotion came new responsibilities, but I was ready for the challenge. I threw myself into my work, determined to make the most of this opportunity. Late nights at the office were common, but they were driven by a newfound sense of purpose and excitement. Emily's career continued to flourish as well. The design firm she had been working with offered her a permanent position, recognizing her talent and dedication. It was a significant step up, with better pay and more stability. She accepted the offer, and we celebrated yet another milestone. "Look at us," she said one evening as we sat on our balcony, the city lights twinkling below. "We're actually doing it." I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her close. "Yeah, we are. And it's just going to get better from here." Our new financial stability allowed us to start saving more aggressively. We set up a dedicated savings account for the house, and each month we watched the balance grow. It was slow progress, but it was progress nonetheless. We began to see the possibility of buying a house for my parents as a tangible goal, not just a distant dream. As our savings grew, so did our relationship with my parents. The tentative truce we had established started to solidify into a more genuine understanding. We continued to invite them over for dinners, slowly breaking down the barriers that had formed between us. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, my dad surprised us by bringing up the house. "We've been thinking," he said, glancing at my mom. "We appreciate all the effort you two are putting into this, but we want you to know that we're proud of you no matter what. The house is important, but what matters more is seeing you both happy and successful." His words were a balm to my soul. For so long, the house had been a looming presence, a symbol of my parents' approval and our success. Hearing that they valued our happiness more was a profound relief. "Thank you," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "That means a lot to us." Emily squeezed my hand under the table, her eyes filled with tears. It was a moment of connection and understanding that had been missing for so long. We were finally moving past the hurt and disappointment, building something stronger and more resilient. Our progress wasn't just financial, it was emotional and relational as well. We were healing old wounds and forging new bonds, both with my parents and with each other. As the months went by, our efforts continued to bear fruit. The startup thrived, and with it, my career. Emily's work at the design firm earned her accolades and recognition, her talent shining brighter than ever. We were no longer just surviving, we were thriving. One day, as we sat down to review our finances, I realized that we were closer to our goal than I had ever imagined. The savings account had grown steadily, and with our combined incomes we were nearing the amount needed for a down payment on a house. "We're almost there," I said, looking up at Emily with a mix of excitement and disbelief. "We could start house hunting soon." Her face lit up with a radiant smile. "I can't believe it. We're really going to do this." We began the process of looking for a house, a task that was both exhilarating and daunting. Each weekend we visited potential homes, imagining our future and the possibilities that each one held. It was a journey filled with hope and anticipation, each step bringing us closer to fulfilling the promise I had made to my parents. Finally, after months of searching, we found the perfect house. It was a modest, charming home with a small garden and enough space for family gatherings. It felt right, a place where we could build new memories and continue healing the old ones. We put in an offer, and after a tense few days, it was accepted. The feeling of holding the keys to that house was indescribable. It was more than just a property. It was a symbol of our journey, our love, and our resilience. On the day we moved in, my parents came over to see the house. They were both emotional, their faces reflecting a mix of pride and gratitude. "This is beautiful," my mom said, her voice choked with emotion. "You've done so well." My dad nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. "We're proud of you both. Thank you for never giving up." It was a moment of reconciliation and redemption. We had climbed the ladder, rung by rung, and reached a place of understanding and mutual respect. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had brought us closer together and made us stronger. As we stood in the living room of our new home, surrounded by family, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment and gratitude. We had faced countless obstacles and sacrifices, but we had persevered. Together, we had achieved what once seemed impossible. Emily wrapped her arms around me, her eyes shining with love and pride. "We did it," she whispered. I kissed her forehead, my heart overflowing with gratitude and love. "Yeah, we did. And this is just the beginning." Our journey was far from over, but we had proven that with love, determination, and unwavering support, we could overcome any challenge. The future was bright, and I knew that whatever came next, we would face it together, stronger and more resilient than ever before. The day had finally come. After months of hard work and unwavering determination, Emily and I stood outside my parents' house, keys to their new home in hand. My heart pounded in my chest as I looked at Emily, who gave me an encouraging nod. This was the moment we had been working towards, the culmination of all our sacrifices and efforts. We knocked on the door, and my mom answered, her face lighting up when she saw us. Come in," she said, stepping aside to let us in. My dad was sitting in the living room and he stood up as we entered, a curious expression on his face. "What's this about?" he asked, his eyes narrowing slightly as he glanced at the small, gift-wrapped box in my hand. I took a deep breath, exchanging a quick look with Emily. "We have something to show you," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's a surprise." We led them outside to the car, where we had parked just down the street. The drive to the new house was filled with nervous anticipation, my parents exchanging puzzled glances as they tried to figure out what we were up to. When we finally pulled up to the house, I could see the confusion on their faces. "Whose house is this?" my mom asked, turning to me with a bewildered expression. I took a deep breath, holding out the box. "It's yours," I said, handing it to my dad. He opened the box, revealing the keys inside. For a moment he just stared at them as if not quite believing what he was seeing. Then he looked up at me, his eyes wide with shock. "You bought us a house," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily stepped forward, her hand on my arm. "We did," she said. "We wanted to show you that we're committed to our future and to making things right." My mom's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the house, then back at us. "This is incredible," she said, her voice breaking. "We never expected—" "Thank you." The relief that washed over me was almost overwhelming. For so long I had felt the weight of their expectations and disappointment. Now, standing here with Emily by my side, I felt a sense of accomplishment and peace. "We know it hasn't been easy," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "But we wanted to prove that we could do this, that we could build a future together." My dad, still holding the keys, looked at me with a mixture of pride and humility. "You've done more than that," he said. "You've shown us what true determination and love can achieve." We spent the next few hours giving my parents a tour of their new home. The house was modest but perfect for them, with a cozy living room, a spacious kitchen, and a garden that my mom immediately fell in love with. As we walked through the rooms, my parents asked questions, their excitement growing with each answer. It was a far cry from the tension and conflict that had defined our relationship for so long. When we finally sat down in the living room, my mom turned to Emily and me, her eyes still glistening with tears. "We owe you both an apology," she said softly. "We were so focused on what we thought was best that we didn't see how hard you were working, how much you were sacrificing." My dad nodded, his expression serious. "We should have trusted you more," he added. "But we're so proud of what you've accomplished. You've proven that you can achieve anything you set your minds to." Their words meant more to me than I could express. For so long I had craved their approval and understanding, and now, finally, it felt like we were all on the same page. Emily squeezed my hand, her smile radiant. "This is just the beginning," she said. "We have so much more to look forward to." That night, as we returned to our own home, I felt a sense of closure and new beginnings. The house we had bought for my parents was more than just a promise fulfilled. It was a symbol of our journey, our struggles, and our triumphs. Our relationship with my parents continued to improve. We spent more time together, sharing meals and stories and building new memories. The rift that had once seemed insurmountable was healing, replaced by a newfound respect and understanding. As Emily and I settled into our life together, we continued to support each other in every way possible. We were partners in the truest sense, facing each challenge together and celebrating each victory, no matter how small. One evening, as we sat on the couch reflecting on our journey, Emily turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "We've come so far," she said softly, "but I can't help thinking about what's next. What do we want to build now?" Her question hung in the air, filled with possibility. We had achieved so much, but there was still so much more we could do. Our dreams were no longer limited by immediate concerns. We could start thinking about the future in broader terms. "I think we should focus on our own dreams now," I said, pulling her close. "We've spent so much time working towards the house and making things right with my parents. Now it's time to think about what we want for ourselves." Emily nodded, her eyes shining with excitement. "I've been thinking the same thing. There are so many things I want to do, so many places I want to see." We talked late into the night, dreaming about our future together. Travel, new career goals, maybe even starting a family someday. It all felt within reach. The obstacles that had once seemed insurmountable were behind us, and the road ahead was filled with endless possibilities. As I lay in bed that night, holding Emily close, I felt a profound sense of gratitude and hope. Our journey had been long and challenging, but it had brought us closer together and made us stronger. Whatever the future held, I knew we would face it together, with love, determination, and unwavering support. Our story was far from over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But no matter what came next, I knew that as long as we had each other, we could overcome any challenge and achieve any dream. The future was ours to shape, and I couldn't wait to see what it held. With the weight of my parents' ultimatum lifted, Emily and I were free to focus on our own dreams and aspirations. It was a strange and wonderful feeling, knowing that we had accomplished something monumental and could now look forward to a future of our own making. One of our first new beginnings was travel. Emily and I had always dreamed of seeing the world, but our financial struggles and responsibilities had kept us grounded. Now, with a bit more stability, we started planning a trip to Europe, a place both of us had always wanted to explore. We spent weeks researching and saving, and finally, we booked our tickets. The excitement was palpable as we packed our bags and headed to the airport, ready for our adventure. Our first stop was Paris, a city of romance and history, and it did not disappoint. Walking hand in hand along the Seine, exploring the Louvre, and tasting exquisite pastries at quaint cafes, it was everything we had imagined and more. The experience was made even sweeter by the knowledge that we had earned it through our hard work and perseverance. From Paris we traveled to Italy, soaking in the art and culture of Florence, the history of Rome, and the stunning beauty of the Amalfi Coast. Each new city brought with it a sense of wonder and discovery, and we cherished every moment together. As we traveled, our bond grew even stronger. We faced the challenges of navigating unfamiliar places, language barriers, and occasional mishaps with a sense of humor and teamwork. Each day was a reminder of why we had fought so hard to be together, and it reaffirmed our commitment to one another. When we returned home, our hearts were full of memories and our minds brimming with new ideas and dreams. The trip had given us a fresh perspective, and we were eager to channel that energy into our future. One of the first things we decided to do was invest in our careers further. Emily enrolled in advanced design courses, eager to expand her skills and explore new creative avenues. I continued to focus on my work at the startup, taking on more responsibilities and pursuing opportunities for growth. Our professional lives flourished as a result. Emily's courses opened up new possibilities for her, and she started taking on more ambitious projects. Her work gained even more recognition, and she was invited to speak at design conferences and workshops. At the startup, I was promoted to a senior position, leading a team of engineers on innovative projects. The challenges were immense, but I thrived on the excitement and responsibility. The company was growing rapidly, and with it, so were my opportunities for advancement. As our careers soared, we also began to think about our future together in more personal terms. One evening, as we sat on the balcony of our apartment, watching the sunset, Emily turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Have you ever thought about starting a family?" she asked, her voice soft and tentative. The question took me by surprise, but as I looked into her eyes, I realized that it was something I had been thinking about as well. "I have," I admitted. "Especially now that things are more stable. I think we'd make great parents." A smile spread across her face and she leaned in to kiss me. "I think so too," she said. "Maybe not right away, but someday soon." The idea of starting a family added a new dimension to our dreams. We began to plan for it, saving more diligently and discussing how we wanted to raise our children. It was an exciting and slightly daunting prospect, but we faced it with the same determination and optimism that had carried us through so many challenges. In the meantime, we continued to build our life together. We renovated our apartment, making it a cozy and welcoming space filled with love and laughter. We hosted dinner parties for friends and family, strengthening our bonds and creating a sense of community. Our relationship with my parents continued to improve. They visited us often, enjoying the time spent with us in our new home. The tension that had once defined our interactions was replaced by a genuine warmth and understanding. They saw how happy and successful we were, and it brought them joy. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table with my parents, my mom turned to Emily and me with a smile. "You two have built something truly special," she said. "We're so proud of you." My dad nodded in agreement. "You've shown us what real commitment and love look like. Thank you for never giving up." Their words meant the world to us. It was a testament to the journey we had taken, the obstacles we had overcome, and the love that had carried us through. As the months went by, Emily and I continued to dream and plan for our future. We talked about starting our own business, combining our skills and passions to create something unique. We explored new hobbies and interests, always eager to learn and grow together. One of the most meaningful decisions we made was to give back to the community that had supported us. We started volunteering at local organizations, offering our skills and time to help those in need. It was a humbling and rewarding experience, and it brought us even closer together. Through all of this, our love remained the constant foundation. We supported each other through the highs and lows, celebrated each other's successes, and comforted each other in times of doubt. Our relationship was a partnership in every sense of the word, built on trust, respect, and unwavering support. As we stood on the threshold of new beginnings, I couldn't help but feel a profound sense of gratitude. Our journey had been long and challenging, but it had brought us to a place of incredible fulfillment and joy. We had proven that with love, determination, and hard work, anything was possible. Our story was far from over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But as we looked to the future, we knew that we could face whatever came our way, as long as we had each other. Together, we would continue to build a life filled with love, adventure, and endless possibilities. Years passed, and our lives unfolded in ways we had dreamed and ways we never could have imagined. Emily and I continued to grow both individually and together, creating a life that was fulfilling and rich with experiences. Our journey had been marked by challenges, triumphs, and a deepening love that bound us more tightly with each passing day. One of the most significant milestones in our lives was the birth of our daughter, Lily. She came into the world with a burst of joy and a spirit that was unmistakably her own. From the moment we held her, we knew our lives had changed forever. Parenthood brought a new set of challenges, but it also brought immeasurable happiness. We navigated sleepless nights, first steps, and the endless curiosity of a growing child with a sense of wonder and gratitude. Lily became the center of our world, a living testament to the love and dedication we had poured into our relationship. Our careers continued to flourish, but we made sure to balance our professional ambitions with the time and attention our family needed. Emily's design business took off, earning her accolades and a loyal client base. My role at the tech company evolved, allowing me to lead innovative projects and mentor young engineers. But amid all the success and daily routines, we never forgot the journey that had brought us here. We frequently reflected on the struggles we had overcome and the sacrifices we had made. It was these reflections that grounded us and reminded us of the strength of our bond. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, Emily and I sat on the balcony of our home, watching the stars twinkle above. The air was cool, and the city lights glowed softly in the distance. It was a moment of peace, a rare and cherished pause in our busy lives. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Emily asked, her voice soft and filled with wonder. I nodded, taking her hand in mine. "All the time," I replied. "It's hard to believe sometimes. We've faced so much, and yet here we are." Emily leaned her head on my shoulder, a contented sigh escaping her lips. "I wouldn't change a thing," she said. "Every challenge, every sacrifice, it all brought us here." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, lost in our thoughts. The memories of our journey played like a film in my mind. The fights, the reconciliations, the hard work, and the moments of sheer joy. Each memory was a testament to our resilience and our unwavering commitment to one another. Reflecting on our past, I realized how much we had grown, not just as individuals but as a couple. Our love had been tested in ways we never anticipated, but each test had only strengthened our bond. We had learned to communicate better, to support each other more fully, and to cherish every moment together. "I'm so grateful for everything we've built," I said, my voice filled with emotion. "Our family, our home, our love, it's all more than I ever imagined." Emily smiled, her eyes shining with tears. "Me too," she said. "We've created something beautiful out of so many challenges. I'm proud of us." As we continued to sit together, I thought about the future. There were still many dreams we wanted to pursue, many adventures we hoped to embark on. But I knew that whatever came our way, we would face it together, with the same determination and love that had brought us this far. The next day, we hosted a family gathering to celebrate our journey and the new beginnings that lay ahead. My parents, now fully supportive and involved in our lives, arrived early to help with preparations. Aunt Karen, whose unwavering support had been a lifeline in our darkest times, brought her famous potato salad, a dish that had become a family favorite. As we gathered around the table, surrounded by loved ones, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Our home was filled with laughter and conversation, a vibrant testament to the love and effort we had invested in our relationships. Lily ran around, her infectious laughter echoing through the house, reminding us of the joy that had come from our journey. During dinner, my dad raised his glass for a toast. "To family," he said, his voice steady and filled with emotion. "To the journey we've all taken and the love that has brought us here. We're proud of you both, and we're grateful for the beautiful family you've created." The room filled with the sound of clinking glasses and heartfelt cheers. It was a moment of connection and celebration, a recognition of all we had achieved and the love that had sustained us. As the evening wound down and our guests began to leave, I took a moment to stand in the quiet of our home, reflecting on the years that had passed. Emily joined me, wrapping her arms around my waist and resting her head on my chest. "We did it," she whispered, her voice filled with pride and contentment. "Yes, we did," I replied, kissing the top of her head. "And there's so much more to look forward to." Our journey had been long and filled with obstacles, but it had also been rich with love, growth, and triumph. As we stood together, ready to face whatever the future held, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. To everyone who has followed our story, thank you for being a part of our journey. Your support and encouragement have meant the world to us. As we look to the future, we invite you to share your own stories and dreams. Together, we can celebrate the beauty of resilience, love, and new beginnings. What are the dreams you're working towards? What challenges have you overcome to get where you are today? Share your stories with us. We'd love to hear them. Thank you for reading, and may your own journey be filled with love, hope, and endless possibilities.